Okay, we're live. Let's see if I can set it up here. If not, I'll just hold it and we'll use it as a background. All right. Nice. Yeah, this is pretty good. Let's get some people in here. Let's see, I can't really see the chat since I'm far away, but howdy. All right. See you, ladies and gentlemen. I got a little setup here real quick. Be brief, since I am live streaming on my phone and that thing gets hot, and the hotter it gets, the slower it gets. So give it a minute here. Are we at a full minute? Just about. See if we get some people in here. Signal. We're at good strength. We got one person watching. We're just about to hit the minute mark, and then I'll get into what I have to say. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 3/4 out of the year court update on the Cameraman channel. Have to talk about here while we wait for some people to get in. Let me grab my handy dandy notes here. Yes, I am Professor Cameraman, and today I'll be teaching you your rights. Notice my don't mind the whiteboard behind me. That's I'm just borrowing this room since that's the only room I could find. So let me begin. Well, first by saying thank you all for tuning in, those who have tuned in at this point. I am your cameraman. I will be your civil rights investigative journalist today. First, I'll talk about a few cases. Not a whole lot, just a few. Most importantly, the one that I'm currently on right now is People versus Michael Zuccolillo, 20-CF-01824. We're on jury watch right now as we speak for that. Mr. Zuccolillo, for those who are aware of the case, was arrested back in, he turned himself in back in 2020 for charges related to him distributing information, illicit material to a minor, as well as soliciting a minor. Basically it was a Chris Hansen sting operation orchestrated by a guy that had a business deal with Mr. Zuccolillo in regards to a property. And long story short, there was a, how like when you go and rent something, you put a security deposit in. Well, I'm not a realtor expert, but they put in what is known as a good faith deposit on this house that was furnished. Well, Mr. Zuccolillo allegedly, from what I've discovered, or been told rather, allegedly went into this house that he was going to sell this man and took out all the furniture before everything was said and done. And when these people found out about it in the time frame that he did it, there wasn't enough time to contest what he did, so basically he got away with it. So this gentleman, Mr. Hallbrin, decided to orchestrate a revenge plot against Mr. Zuccolillo, which basically involved him, posing as a couple different people to get Mr. Zuccolillo to evidently send pictures of his genitals to who he thought was an underage 16-year-old Chinese immigrant. It's quite a mouthful, ladies and gentlemen, but the jury is in deliberation right now as to whether or not he's going to be found guilty or not guilty on these charges. They started deliberating Tuesday, and they came back today to continue deliberations. The way the trial was set, it was designed to be done on Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and today is the last day of the set trial cycle. So right now, they're been going since 8:30, so, only time will tell. We're about an hour out from lunch. So that's one case. The next case I'd like to talk about is the case of People versus Rogers. Now that is going to be, in my court notes, 20-CF-05838. And Mr. Rogers was also accused of sexually molesting some two people well over a decade ago. We're talking at least 10 plus years of allegation. Nothing physical, just his word against another person's word. And he represented himself. Now, I've mentioned this a couple times on my channel, so I won't go into too much, But basically, that case finally rested a few months ago. Unfortunately, Mr. Rogers was found guilty, but he's in the process of appealing for a new trial. He's representing himself pro per. I did end up testifying in that case, and even with my testimony, the jury still found Mr. Rogers guilty of the counts. It's interesting that, the gentleman that said I, harassed and intimidated him as a witness when I went over there and asked questions and interviewed him, and he, said, hey, nothing happened, I don't have anything against this guy, and even had a phone call on the phone, on my cell phone, since the guy said, hey, can you go over there? And this wasn't to talk to the gentleman I did an interview with. This was to talk with another gentleman by the name of Caleb Long. Now, Mr. Long has been, in contact with Mr. Rogers for a very long period of his life. They're, from what I've gathered, close. They're in a brotherhood bond, if you will. And I was there to facilitate phone issues, and that being when you call from the jail here in Butte County, we don't have the greatest phone system, and that includes, being listened to, your calls, recorded and that nature. But if we don't want you to call somebody, we'll fuck with your phone, ladies and gentlemen. We'll make it seem like it's calling, but it's not calling anybody. And hell, we'll even change the caller ID to show it's coming from Cuba. Don't believe me, ladies and gentlemen? Well, actually, I have proof. Text messages of it. Well, not text, but when you go on your phone log, it looks like a text, text format, showing the caller ID is Cuba, but it's the same number from the Butte County Jail. They just spaced it to make the area code from Cuba. Crazy, isn't it? So he wasn't able to get a hold of Mr. Long, and I said, hey, well, I can help with that. And Mr. Long was expecting me to come over within that time period, and that person that allegedly Mr. Rogers molested and harmed and all these other god-awful things that he alleges he did, came out and saw that I had a phone conversation facilitated between Mr. Long and him, and he said, hey, is that Mr. Rogers on the other line? And I said, yes. Would you like to talk to him? Yeah. Handed him the phone and said, hey, I don't know what's going on, why they're doing this. And then, we had this interview, and then he turns around to the DA and says I harassed him. But yet, I was never charged with intimidating or dissuading a witness, which is a serious crime in the state of California. And I even testified to this on the stand, and, somehow, even though a victim can get up there and lie, and a witness says that they're lying, none of this stuff happened, and their stories are inconsistent, juries still find people guilty, unfortunately. Those are, let me see here, those were the two major cases I wanted to tell you guys before we continue here. Let me just take a look at chat. I know people have been like, hey, you're alive. Let's see here real quick. Time to stand, time to stand. Even with my volume, I just can't understand, okay. I'm surprised it's echoing in here. I'm surprised. And brother. Alright. So that's basically it in the major cases. Pretty much every other case is, out to trial or going to be continued. That's how things, I've been following cases for, years before they go to trial or plea deal. That's just how, unfortunately, it is in Butte County. And so, one person said they couldn't hear. I'm about to wrap it up anyway, so let me just move my phone a little closer, see if I can do that. Let's see here. Got 8 people, 8 likes. Let's try. See, is that better? Can you hear me now, ladies and gentlemen? That person said their volume was at max. They couldn't hear me. There is quite an echo in this room, so I don't want to yell too loud, but I think the audio is pretty good. So those were the two minor main cases I wanted to update you all on. Now the main juicy bit of this little update I wanted to tell everybody is, if you've seen the video with Officer Sanzone, formerly with Oroville Police, who arrested me unlawfully for recording him in public, arresting a guy who threw some chicken wings at a 7-Eleven employee, I evidently found out. He was arrested in Glenn County for stealing money from a suspect that he robbed as a deputy of the Glenn County Sheriff's Department. Let me see here, we got a comment? Okay, we're good, all right, thank you for confirming the audio. So yeah, Jonathan Sanzone was arrested for grand embezzlement, if I remember correctly the charge, grand larceny, but he stole over $3,000 from a homeless man that he was putting away to have his teeth fixed. And so he's no longer a sheriff's deputy in Glenn County. He was fired, from my understanding anyways, but first he was put on, administrative leave without pay, then fired. Now he's in criminal proceedings in the Glenn County Superior Court for those charges, and he is set for preliminary hearing in November 1st or 2nd, I have it marked on my calendar. So we'll have to see what comes from that. Hopefully I can bring the coverage of that preliminary hearing. Glenn County is kind of a, how should I put this, a court in the middle of nowhere. So you see that Courage the Cowardly Dog show? Yeah, it's in the middle of nowhere. And we've got some, we've got some judges and lawyers who are not necessarily accustomed to First Amendment protected individuals such as myself, even though California court rules state that, other forms of media, which a YouTube channel is protected, as a news service. So hopefully we can bring coverage of that, but that's ongoing proceedings, and we'll see what happens with Mr. Sanzone. But regarding him in criminal court, I've filed, I can't say too much on this, but I have filed a lawsuit against him for what he did, and it has been proceeding in federal court for over a year now. That's the wheels of federal court for you. Slow, effective, but slow. So hopefully we'll see what that entails, but right now we're still in the process of negotiation, and that's pretty much all I can divulge, because as much as I like to represent myself, I was able to retain some counsel on this that is on board with First Amendment constitutionally protected activity, and especially holding this officer accountable, since he's gotten away with numerous crimes and depriving numerous people of their constitutionally protected rights. So a lawsuit which is not mine is not the only one filed against the city of Oroville. I mean, there's a bunch from employees, former employees, victims of employee misconduct. I mean, the most recent one is allegedly Officer Robert Cizik of the Oroville dumped a woman out here on Neal Road, which is where our local dump is, and she was subsequently hit by a vehicle and left on the road for about 12 hours, 7 to 12 hours, before an employee of a nearby construction company noticed her out there and called for help. But now she's permanently disabled, and they're gonna have to answer for that, especially when it's they amended their complaint to reflect that he admitted to dumping this woman to an investigator hired by the city to investigate these claims. So he's going to have to answer for that, and the city's going to have to answer for that, because this woman is now, permanently disabled. So my case is not the only one against the city of Oroville. I mean, hell, this might be one of those TV cases where you see where it's on the news that the whole police department had to shut down because they have no money left. So there's that. And then finally, since we're about to going over a little bit longer than I wanted to, but touching on some major points here. Finally, basically a comment in regards to this channel. I know I've been lacking, getting content out there for you guys, and I really appreciate my subscribers and my long-term, you know who you are out there, especially the people that I've known for years that still tune in and watch me. basically, it's just been crazy last couple of years. I never really expected me to be in this position where I am now, in this fancy, office type room, giving you this press update and going to court, almost daily sometimes. But it's been a change. Oh yes, Oxnard. Yes, hey butthead. Shut up, yes. So yeah, all right. Shout out to Butthead out there. Yeah, see, that's example right there since the Oxnard days. But yeah, just most people don't realize when I started this, I was 16 years old. I'm 24 years old now. I've been doing this for 8 years. Um, in between that time, I've graduated high school, had a lot of stuff going on in my own life. It was hard to, find time to edit and still, go to school, the balance. And then finally, when I had a grip on finally, hey, relocating to somewhere new, getting on top of my editing and getting content out there for you guys, because it took me a year to, it's an adjustment coming from a giant county like Orange County and coming to a small, relatively large but yet small in regards to the amount of people, communities such as Butte. Oh man, don't tell me, did I freeze? It gets so hot I'm frozen. And we're a little warm. No, I don't want to stop streaming. Let's see. Let me try and fix the camera for you, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yeah, the San Pedro incident. Oh, I think I remember that one. You all can still hear me, right? It's frozen. I don't mind this picture of me being frozen with a smile on my face. That's good. Oh, here, did we come back? This is what happens, ladies and gentlemen. I'm poor. I'm not the wealthiest cameraman out there like some of these big YouTubers. So, I've had the same phone I'm using for like 5-6 years, and it's finally starting to show its age. So, maybe if I just stop here. Oh, it's catching up. But let me know if you can still hear me. I think we're still, the audio is. 714 in the house. Yes, sir. My Orange County peeps. But yeah, up here in Butte County, it's not like Orange County, There's a lot less people, a lot less infrastructure, It's funny. In Anaheim, for those who are familiar, I can remember there's like 5 strip clubs within walking distance of my house. Here, there's only 1 strip club in the entire county. That gives you an example. But, it was an adjustment. Then finally, when I thought, okay, I had this depression of there's no cop watchers up here, I'm going to be the only one, on top of the fact that, ladies and gentlemen, stuff happens up here, but, it's slow go sometimes listening to those scanner, after 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, the town, there's nothing, it's very quiet in town. But really, it's taught me that where the real corruption is, ladies and gentlemen, is in your courthouses and local government. These people that sign their names on paper that somehow think that they're higher than God and can tell you what to do, and all the while violating your rights. And so finally, I'm like, okay, I finally found a place. I was going to start getting on this editing, and then COVID hit, and that slowed everything down. And then finally this year, I thought, finally I'm going to start with my channel and stuff. And then finally this case that I was involved in, People versus Rogers, went to trial, and that took up a good portion of my time preparing for. I've helped this gentleman, Mr. Rogers, in his pro per status, almost from day one practically since he's been here. And all this time for witness prepping, subpoenaing people. I do a lot of work behind the scenes, and it takes a lot to sit down and edit video. And as I know Tom, good point about it in one of his videos about finding the time to sit down and editing versus actually, getting out there on the streets and documenting things and being able to do that more than actually upload. And so I've labeled it as a Tom Zebra syndrome, and I've got a bad case of Tom Zebra syndrome. But if I, hope keep on the way, the path I am, by the end of this year, we'll be in full swing for 2024. Hopefully, in the next month or so, I want to start uploading more frequently, other than just these impromptu live streams. But hopefully, it's just shit, and we can't always control the things that happen in our life. It's just what it is. But I'm definitely feeling the urge to get back into what I do, more in the video sense. I enjoy what I do, regardless of how often you guys see it. I do a lot off camera compared to what's on camera, but I've sort of developed a plan to upload these older videos and newer videos. It's basically just boiled down to putting an intro before one over the other. Like some of these old videos, I'm not sure what quite yet I'm going to label it, but these older videos from like 2018 and 2019, we're going to probably slap on there, from the vault, like the Walt Disney collection or some shit like that. Excuse my French, ladies and gentlemen, but at least that'll eliminate the people out there saying, "This is an old video." Maybe if Nasty Nathaniel come in. I was watching him last night, ladies and gentlemen. Had me cracking up. Shout out to Nasty Nathaniel. If you're not already subscribed to Nasty Nathaniel, ladies and gentlemen. But hey, if I put an intro, at least you're warned. And so that way we can mix in the old and the new, and hopefully find a balance. Just my big thing is creating this sound effects library and video clip, where they splice in a little funny clip of something. And that takes time, ladies and gentlemen. Saving videos as audio, going into sometimes videos that are an hour long just to splice a 30-second clip out of it. It takes time, and it takes good equipment. Yeah, exactly. Time to stand like I do anyways. Every time I announce the date and time, and So basically, I went a little longer than I expected, and my screen froze, but my phone's not completely on fire yet. But basically, that's pretty much covers everything I wanted to cover. I'm glad my audio is still good. We had about 11 people in here at our highest point. Just wanted to say thank you all for tuning in. Also, thanks to the sheriff's deputy's camera. I don't know if the thing's gonna capture audio or turn around, but this room I'm in has a security camera in it. Oh, good, the camera's back. See, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, there, good, yeah. We're in the corner, so I was being watched the whole time, whether it's by my camera or theirs. We'll do. Time to stand, will do. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Let me see if my front camera will work now. That one's working. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. Like I said, I'm going to try and get to working on this channel. I'm noticing all these new people coming out. It's like cameraman's going to be a footnote if you don't start putting some work in. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Still on Verdict Watch, and hopefully I'll be coming back later today with a verdict on that case as well, and another live stream. All right, take care everybody. This is the cameraman in the swap office of the Butte County Sheriff's Office saying goodbye and signing off.